July 30th board meeting, work session. This time, I'd ask Vice Chairman Matthews if he would lead us in the pledge of allegiance on occasion.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father, we do thank you for this opportunity we have to come together today to discuss the affairs of our county and our citizens. We thank you for our government officials and the hard work they do daily to provide services for those of us that live in this fine county. We thank you for these board members who serve and who work diligently to serve our citizens as well. We thank you for the beautiful sunshine we have this morning. We just thank you for providing our many needs, and we ask you to continue to look over us as we conduct the affairs of our government today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All righty. We'll get started this morning with item number 3, discuss a request for approval to accept a grant from the Building Bridges Implementation Funding. Major McNeil.
Good morning. On behalf of Sheriff Coates and the Sheriff's Department, we were asking permission to accept a grant from the Building Bridges funding as part of the Department of Justice. This funds will help us supplement and fund the opioid treatment program we have in the detention center. The grant is for 2 years. There's no matching funds. We put all the money in the first year, this budget year, because we have no idea right now. We're in the pilot stage of the program. We don't know how many participants we're going to have in our opioid treatment program. We've had 7 so far. So it's a 2-year grant. Whatever money we don't use in this budget year will roll over into the next budget year.
Okay. Thank you. This is a non-matching grant.
Non-matching.
Okay. And this money would help support the sheriff's UD program.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that would help sure its continued success, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we've used different fundings to start with, start the program up. This will ensure that we have funding for the next couple of years to continue the program. And then after that, we are continually looking at grants and other sources of money to operate this program in the future.
So I'm assuming it's going well since you asked it.
Yeah, it's like I say, we're in the pilot stage. We've had 7. As we get in, the longer we get in it, the more response we've got from inmates who come into the jail.
Okay. Good enough.
Recommend put it on the consent agenda.
All right. Consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
Dave?
Thank you, Major McNeil.
Thank you.
Item number 4, discuss a request to accept additional grant funding from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and for the North Harnett Wastewater Treatment Plant Project. Mr. Ward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a $14,775,000 grant that we actually have known about for quite a while. The legislature appropriated this money back in 2023. This is not ARPA money per se, but combined with our other ARPA funds, both on the county side and also we got a direct ARPA grant for the same project, the wastewater treatment plant expansion. So some of this changed. The legislature changed the closing amount, which the state takes off the top kind of. It was actually $15 million that was appropriated. The difference there is what the state keeps for closing or appropriating and administering that grant. So anyway, this is a resolution's been prepared for the board to accept this grant. It names Brent Trout as the authorized representative for the grant. So there's a lot of paperwork to send back to them, but this is the first step in getting that started. The grant follows most of the ARPA requirements, The good news is the deadlines are not appropriate to this, so it doesn't have the same 2026 deadline of spending the money down. So that gives us some flexibility in there. So that's what, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Non-matching.
It is non-matching, yes.
No? Any other questions on consent agenda? Consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5, discuss a request from the tax administrator to give a report of the tax settlement on to the Board of Commissioners. Ms. Wallace.
Good morning. I'm here today with, right here, Deputy Tax Collector Amy Bain, to share with you the tax settlement for the 2023 year. So the staff in the tax department has worked very hard this year to improve our office functions while working to maintain clean data and keep a high collection standard. They have been diligent in making progress in all areas, and I'm very appreciative for their dedication, and it'll show in this report. So I'll go through the PowerPoint and give a small introduction. Per statute, the tax assessor collector has to make a report of settlement to the commissioners each July. And in this settlement, it is a summary of the charges that were levied against real and personal property, what was discovered for the levy, and any penalties that were assigned. So the report also includes releases and adjustments made to bills throughout the year. And finally, it also gives a breakdown of each area of collection to include real property, personal property, gap bills, motor vehicles, and public service companies. So we'll go through that and give a comparison over the years also. So Amy's going to give you the overview on the settlement.
So beginning when we billed our levy last year, we originally billed $73,649,187.09. We discovered $766,297.49. And with late listing penalties, fees, and interest that was added, that was $292,982,058, for a total of $74,708,467.16 that we billed. After June the 30th, at the end of June the 30th, we had collected $73,710,935.06. We had adjustments and releases to the levy of $469,018.83. So on the real estate, real property, which is, all the land, improvements, what was left uncollected was $343,529.85. And uncollected personal property, which encompass any individual property and any business personal property, was $184,983.42. So we had a credit of $708,467.16. So that's what we had the credits against the debits.
In the settlement on the next slide, what you'll see is what we collected and billed for real and personal property. So that did include, all land and improvements, businesses, and gap bills. We did see an increase in collections in that area of 0.13%. Our public service companies, which included railroads, power companies, and so forth, that's 100% collection rate, and that's repetitive year after year. And then our motor vehicles, which is also an indicator of the growth to the county also, is that we collected a higher percentage this year at 1.18% higher than last year. And those are registered motor vehicles through DMV. We also have our gap billing that occurs, and that was down 3.5%. But we did bill more this year than we did last year. And historically, these are more difficult to collect, as taxpayers believe that they pay this at the DMV, but it's actually the gap between the registration and the renewal. And so we bill those amounts, and so a lot of times people think that's already been paid and they discard the notice. It's also one of our most difficult to collect as far as our collection methods. We try to exhaust all of our what we call free methods that don't cost the taxpayer or the county any additional funds, but once those are exhausted, it costs the county about $23 and some change to forcibly collect these amounts. And on the list of delinquents we have currently, the average bill is $39.59. So we try to make good use of the county money before we go and try to collect these funds. And sometimes that's as easily done as with a single phone call. So we're working on different ways to improve that collection rate for next year, as far as that goes. But still, when it comes to gap bills, it's still fairly strong.
So what we also do is we do a comparison over the past years, and you, as you can basically look at that, you see that we have increased that this year with the exception of the gap bills. But, we've steadily held our own. Even, I even go back to COVID year, 2020. I did not know when March 15th or whatever date we all went down, I thought, oh gosh, we're just never going to collect that year. And that year was a very good collection year for our real and personal property. It steadily has been the same throughout the years, as you can see that. We credit that, obviously we credit it to our staff. Our staff does work very hard. They are just so diligent and thrive on trying to get and love doing their job to do this.
And so finally, when we take the total amount billed for all real estate, public service, individual business, motor vehicles, and the gap bills, we ended up with an overall collection rate of 98.8%, which was an increase of 0.29% from last year. So we made a big stride in there, and that equates to about $1.8 million in additional revenue from last year to this year. And that's all we have. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Questions from Paul? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Let's see, let me put this on consent.
Board.
Yeah. Put the report on the consent agenda. Okay. All right, thank you. Let's, we got any questions?
I got a new. I'm next.
You're next. Okay, I hadn't read that far yet. Discuss a request to charge the tax administrator with the collection of all real personal property, public service company taxes for 24-25 levy year and the collection of delinquent taxes from 14 to 24.
Okay, so this is just a yearly requirement to charge the tax administrator with the collection of the taxes for this year, 2024, and then also for the back taxes from 2014 to 2024. So all this is like I said, it's just the charge to the collector, giving me permission to send out the bills, and we're ready to do that as soon as you're ready to sign off. And so it just requires the chairman's signature.
Recommend approval for the consent.
Consent agenda? We're on consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, discuss a request to adopt a resolution to participate in the Kroger National Opioid Settlement. Real Pat.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I was already previously before you to ask for approval to sign off on accepting the settlement dollars. Subsequent to that, found out we had to adopt another resolution to accept a sign on to a second supplemental opioid agreement. So this will be actually the third agreement we'll sign off on to accept the settlement dollars from the Kroger. So I'm just asking the board to adopt the resolution, which will then to accept the settlement funds, and it would authorize Brent Trout to sign all the documents that are necessary just to make it more efficient. They're using DocuSign now, so once the resolution will be adopted, Mr. Trout could just sign whatever documents are necessary to accept those funds.
Pleasure of the board.
We put it on the consent agenda.
Consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And let me say this, I appreciate the work you and Coley and everybody else has put into this, and I look forward to seeing how those dollars get implemented over at the jail. Because everyone that we don't have to run back through there saves the taxpayers'
Right.
money.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 8, discuss a request regarding the juvenile counselor office. Mr. Snipes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'd like to talk about moving juvenile justice from a leased building up here in Littleton on Front Street to a county-owned building that's off of 421 in Bush Creek. Both buildings are pretty much equal to the same square footage, and we have met with the state, and the state said that this would fit their needs. And if we could move this to our building, it would save the county about $33,000 a year to do that. So we would like to ask that request to move forward with that. So, and the lease is up right now, and we're doing month to month. Is that right, Thomas? So.
Give me a landmark. Give me a landmark where the building is at.
Right behind Daymart off of 421.
Oh, it's behind them.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't see it from the road, right?
Ma'am?
Can't see it from the road.
No, ma'am, not really, not too
Okay.
good. But we're gonna put signage up and everything to point
Okay.
everybody. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Pleasure of the board, put it on consent agenda. Consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Ms. Fowles, ARPA quarterly update and request to amend the ARPA grant project ordinance.
Good morning. Yes, so mostly the main request I have for this morning is for you to update that grant project ordinance, but first I'm just gonna give you some updates. Thank you so much, Ben. So, before you have this, a lot of numbers, so I'm just gonna walk through them one at a time. So this is just the overview of all of our ARPA eligible projects. All of our ARPA money is encapsulated in this graphic right here. So just a reminder of the language. The term obligated means that the contract has been fully signed. That's all that means. So while we have allocated money through our funding plan, we haven't technically obligated it until all parties have signed that contract. So that specifically applies to those Spectrum Great Grant and then the Brightspeed Cab Grant. Those two says zero obligated. We have allocated that funding through the funding plan, and the NC Department of Information Technology is very much moving forward with those projects. We just haven't technically obligated them in the eyes of Treasury yet. That said, we can, because those projects are quite certain, we can go ahead and amend our grant project ordinance to reflect that in the books, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's see. We have obligated the North Harnett wastewater treatment plant upgrade because we signed that agreement with Adams Robinson, I believe, Enterprises for that big massive project that Steve referred to earlier. So we have set aside that $5 million. We have obligated the Brightspeed Great Grant because that contract was signed in January of this year. And then I just spoke a little bit about those two, so we're technically not obligated, but we have allocated that funding. And then the two Viper projects have been obligated and completely expended. They are completely done, which is very exciting, and we appreciate Larry Smith and Emergency Services for making that happen. And then the premium pay for EMS was completed around this time last year because that was actually made an ineligible use as of April 2023. So we made one round of premium pay from ARPA eligible funds, and then the rest of the premium pay that was promised to those workers is just coming out of the supplanted funding. supplanted displaced funding. That means the same thing. And then that revenue replacement is that $10 million that Treasury allowed us to reimburse ourselves for lost revenue that happened during the pandemic. So what we did with that is we used that money to reimburse for eligible public safety salaries, and then that $10 million then became our local general funding. So the next part I'm going to walk through is this one. So we do have an obligation deadline of December 31st this year, which is daunting. But the great news is, as the boxes highlighted in yellow show, we should have that funding obligated in the eyes of Treasury by October 2024. That's when we will report. So as long as we receive that signed agreement from Spectrum and Brightspeed, which are very complex three-way agreements through those broadband grants, as long as we receive those agreements and we have signed off, and Spectrum and Brightspeed have signed off, and the state has signed off by, what date is that? That would be September 30th, then we can go ahead and mark those as obligated. And if we have obligated those funds, then we can also obligate the remaining funds, which is that $1.4 million, to the wastewater treatment plant as an additional contribution. So if you look to the far right of this side, highlighted in yellow, the total allocation we would expect to give to the wastewater treatment plant upgrade is about $6.4 million. And then go down the column. There we go. That's all of our funds obligated, ideally by the end of September this year. And then this is just a running list, hard to see on the screen, but just for your information, I had been reporting on the supplanted funds, the displaced funds. So this was that $10 million that we used to reimburse our general fund. And that has made many, many projects possible, and we are very grateful for this opportunity. So these funds are completely free and clear of all requirements, including the timeline requirements. So therefore, we no longer have to really worry about these. This list was approved in the budget. So any questions about these projects, you should follow up with the finance officer or our budget officer. So that then is the end of the slideshow, which just brings me to the grant project ordinance. So I wanted to walk you through that first and the what we've actually reported to Treasury versus what is in front of us now. The only thing I've changed with this grant project ordinance is just updating those numbers. For now, only $5 million to the wastewater treatment plant, just in case numbers change. But we're not expecting that. The $375,000 is what the county has agreed to contribute to the Spectrum Great Grant. And then we have also agreed to contribute that $1.9 million number to the CAB grant with Brightspeed. And then on the back, the second page, I added section 5, which just again outlines each of those projects. So then basically, this is so exciting, but the idea is we will have only one more amendment to this project ordinance, which would be just allocating the remaining balance after the two most recent broadband grants and the $5 million to the wastewater treatment plant. The last one would ideally just be allocating that remaining balance to the wastewater treatment plant. So that was a lot. I am open for questions. And again, our request is just approval of that updated grant project ordinance.
I have a question. The $750,000 for the Riverside project. Explain that.
Yeah, so that was early on. I think it was right before I came along. The county decided to allocate that $750. I know some of that, $750,000. Some of that has been spent so far, and I can't say how much is remaining. But the idea was that would cover the whole process.
Well, let me say this, because I am truly upset this morning. I do not understand that I sit here on this board and I vote because we have a lot of needs in this county. I have not got but one person's ear open on this board about Riverside. And those people down there are losing their homes. losing everything that they have worked and earned. And I have not gotten anything done. We have not done. This board has done nothing to help those people. And it's not right. I can't sit here and look at you and smile. And only that much money was allocated to fix Riverside, and we done used half of it to move tires off of that land. It's sad. It's really sad. I'm not gonna sit here and not speak about what's going on in this county. There is a lot of needs, and I sit here and vote for those needs, but I'm gonna tell you, those people have needs too. I have got only one ear to listen to what's going on in the horrible condition that those people are living in, and that's Holy Cross. And that's all I got to say. I'm very passionate. I'm upset this morning because with all this rain, it's going into their houses, going up under their floors, and they're living in unsafe environment, health environments. So, not at you, because money was talked about and money was allocated before you came. Mr. George Wood, the manager at that time, is the only one that had an ear for those people. So I've said what I gotta say, and it's not because it's a minority community. I would feel just as passionate about any community in this county. Tony, I appreciate you, but I cannot sit here any longer and see nothing is being done for those people.
And I appreciate those comments, and I hear you loud and clear. So let me just briefly summarize. So you are correct. The first 4 stages that was put in through the $750,000 was done. When we did clean out the tires, we cleaned out the ditches and the mitigation of what we're doing after that. Going into round 2, Withers Ravenel was hired. We had the community meeting a couple weeks ago, and we've asked the residents to kind of pinpoint on a map about the trouble spots as far as the housing, the ditches, what needs to be cleaned. Actually, Withers Ravenel and Lynn and her group are over there this week on site looking at those particular areas. So now what will happen next is a water hydraulic model study. So that will determine exactly where the problems are, how it needs to be fixed. You'll probably see that study around the end of September in the entirety of it. And what that will show is what the mitigation efforts are. I'm not saying it can be fixed. There'll be some things that can or some things that can't because of how flat the land is. But at least you will have a certified engineer's study with a hydraulic model that will help us move forward to look at federal grants that we can do. You're probably talking tens of millions of dollars to look at mitigation efforts for this particular area. I hear you loud and clear. I know it's aggravating. We said in that meeting, we heard all
I've been working on this 4 years.
You have.
Beyond that.
You have.
You're getting federal grants in here and y'all fix anything y'all need to fix in this county. But those people seem to be pushed aside.
So once you get the hydraulic model study from Withers Ravenel, I think it would share with the citizens in that area and the Board of Commissioners about what the next step is. Then we will look strongly at federal dollars to see the mitigation efforts for grants and what we can do for that area.
Totally, I appreciate you. I know you have done and you have worked with me as much as anybody I know of has worked with me. But let me tell you, I'm very passionate about this. I'm sitting here. And we have dedicated money out of federal funds for things in this county. Very important. But there are other needs in this county too. Now, I'm sorry for my attitude this morning, but there's so much I can take.
Totally understand.
My chairman here telling me that water is backed all up in those people's yard. You all see it, you all hear it, but nobody wants to do anything. But you. I appreciate the study, and I apologize for those people's attitude when they came up here. I don't know how to live in it.
It's tough. It is, but I'll be glad to continue plowing forward and whatever the board likes to do. I'll answer any questions you may have. So
Something needs to be done.
I have a question. So currently, do you have a plan?
yes, once that hydraulic model is done, that's your plan.
Is there any way to expedite that plan, or you guys are right
I
on
am
track
very,
with
I
it?
meet with them once a week. I am very pleased with their progress, where they're at, what's going on. They're in field site work, doing it right now. I have 4 engineers working on that constantly. So once a week, I am getting updates about where they stand. I have a time frame. I'll be glad to share with the board about the whole process of what Withers Ravenel is doing. And yes, there is a plan.
So you do have a distance and direction? Do you need anything else to
No,
help you
sir,
complete
just
the mission?
let them finish that study, and once you get the study, I'll have Withers come to this podium and present in detail about what they found, where they're at, and what can or can't be done.
Thank you.
I thank you. I just want the board here to take this serious.
Understand?
These are people's lives. This is a health problem. But it's an health environment problem. So excuse me, and I apologize for my attitude, but I'm up here. Because we can do things in this county I've seen done sitting up here that didn't even need to be done. Spend money away, some wants to be spent. I'm through with the subject.
Thank you. You finished, Ms. Phelps?
Yes, I am done. I'm just requesting approval of the grant project ordinance as before you.
Apologize to you. You had nothing to do with this.
So we need to put your request on the consent agenda.
Yes, please.
Recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Clerk, you got that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Number 10, the Economic Development Quarterly Update. Mr. Barrington.
Hey there. Good morning. So the first thing I wanted to say is we have heard over and over at Board of Commissioners meetings and different things, the need for creating more revenue for the community. So there are a couple things that we do take our very, very seriously. And one is our role within that effort, and two, our role within the jobs effort that continuously is spouted. And on the latter piece, really wanted to start with just a quick statistics. Of the labor force that we have within Harnett County, 62% leave Harnett County every day to go to work. That's a lot. Now, we do have a good number that come in, but we still have 62% of residents who leave every day. Thus, we take this very seriously as part of our role in terms of what are the steps that are we doing to help solve this. So this is our third report of the quarterly report, very similar to what we're doing today. However, you're starting to see some trends that are taking place here. And so I'm going to start down a little bit lower within on the product development numbers related, and then skew up a little bit. 6 months ago when we were here, we did not have one current ready site. And when we talk about current ready sites, we're talking about sites that are current from an environmental standpoint. They've had the due diligence done, et cetera. We did not have one. Today we have 4. And doing the 4 is gonna lead to some other activities that we're doing. So product development is a top activity that we're doing. If we don't have the product, folks aren't gonna come. So we need to be able to do that to be able to compete. If we're competing for economic development partnerships of North Carolina, if project inquiries we receive from that entity via site selection consultants, they only look for ready sites. They're not looking just for available sites. And that's the importance to that component itself. So if you actually go up to the next level, up to the project inquiries, what you're going to see different than what you saw at the last 2 quarterly meetings. In the past, you saw 1 out of 5 inquiries that we received we were able to submit for the project itself, trying to put our name in the hat, trying to compete for those projects. Today, that's 1 in 3. And so we like the trend of going upwards. We feel like we're going in the right direction, but it correlates directly to the product that we have, and specifically the ready sites that we have. Now, going back to the ready sites, the county has supported one of those ready sites to get those ready. The 501c3 corporation has done another, and then 2 private developers have done the other 2, thus the 4. Now, going up to the top to the active projects, these are the numbers when we submitted this this form over to Melissa. However, since then, there are 12 active projects with a total investment of over $760 million and 1,985 jobs that are attached to those. Again, we're trying to compete as much as we can. Now, what we've done within the business development and product development, we kind of highlighted some of our direct connections with players within those fields. We could easily add that to the second page with all their engagement numbers, but we elected to keep that here, kind of along with those categories itself. But did want to highlight a few different activities that we have done. So you're familiar with the Golden Leaf grant that was received by the corporation over the last 3 months. That's going to enable us to really grow the Edgerton Industrial Park. We're very pleased by that activity. The corporation's actually going to expand to do the other site there at that location as well. You can see in your report the different engagement and learning activities that we've been involved in. We've been involved in a lot of different activities overall. There are a couple of different hot topics that we do want to share with you that have really been on our radar for some time. Over the last couple of years, childcare has become really a major conversation piece that is creeping along economic development professionals across the nation. Childcare scarcity and affordability, those are two issues that affect the recruitment of talent and the retention of talent. And so these are areas that is on our radar. We are going to be hosting a conversation next month, towards the end of next month, with some industry leaders just to see how is that prevalent here in the county as well. Are they feeling that here within the county? And then the last topic, so the Research Triangle region, they have decided through, and the local economic developers have concurred with this, they're not going to proactively be seeking EV type of projects. They're not going to be seeking large data center type of projects. And the reason why is essentially the electricity requirements, the power requirements that are associated with those types of projects are just really off the scale. They really skew what communities along in the region really have. And we concur with that. The types of projects we've been receiving, and we have typically received, if we have 5 megawatts as an example for an industrial project, typically we're in good shape. We've seen 50, the requirements for 50 megawatt and even 100 megawatt in some cases. We can't compete for that. That's just, we just don't have that ability, and no one in the region really has that ability. So that proactively, they're not going to be leveraging their resources to really seek those types of companies in the future. But I did want to let you know that just as you see EV or data centers, that's not an area that we're going to be spending a lot of time because we just can't support those companies from that requirement perspective. That was a very quick snapshot. We're doing a lot of product development. I think at the next meeting, we're going to spend a little bit more time with just kind of do a little education on what are we doing from a marketing standpoint and business development standpoint. What are we doing? Where can we go from here? And what is our plan of action to really reach new companies and how are we connecting with others? And so we would like to do that at the next meeting. We'll have our marketing director here as well.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. Payne?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Your marketing strategy.
Say that again.
Your marketing strategy.
Yes.
Have you moved the element up in any way? Because I don't understand why is it that here in Harnett County, we can't attract any industry.
That is an excellent question, and there's a kind of a simple answer to that, and the simple answer is we've not been in the ball game. We've not had the product to be able to compete for any sort of projects. Now we're getting into the ball game by getting sites ready, as well as the relationship we're having with the developer to put some larger product on. on the market. Without that, we're not in the ballgame. You're exactly correct. And the jobs are going to go all the way around us. But however, by putting efforts there, that is going to allow us to start walking in the door, start submitting some different requests in a way that we just frankly could not in the past.
Well, I certainly appreciate you moving in the right direction to get jobs here because to me, I think it's shameful. When I was elected in 2014, 68% of our citizens was going out of this county to other counties to work. I don't think that that's right. It's not right. And nothing has been done. Economic Development Board, I sit on there for 6 years. See, I don't know. Maybe I'm just frustrated with what's going on here.
And you should be. You should be. And I think
I'm very frustrated.
I think there's a lot of
Because
reason for
we're not doing
that.
anything for the citizens of this county.
Yes.
We're not doing anything for the citizens of this county. We only just looking for funds to drop down from Washington here.
Well, yes and
People
no.
gotta live, and people should live here in this county and have affordable life. So I appreciate you. I really do.
No, but I do want to stress what you're doing right now, what the Board of Commissioners is doing right now with you here, as well as one of the five commissioners. You are helping us take the right steps that we need to start putting some more product and getting product ready in a way that we can really be competitive. And you're starting to help us, and thank you for this over the last year. You've really given us the funds needed to really partner in a way with some developer partners that will really allow us to not only compete for some projects, but really stand out in some ways because we have some good features here. The Cape Fear River is an amazing feature because of the water. The I-95, the Campbell University. There are so many, Highway 87, frankly, there are a lot of great features that are right here. However, the features alone will not bring companies in. And so that's why the emphasis is on product development. And we're not just doing this alone. The state, as the state, they are actually focused on product development in terms of let's grow our product that we have around this state because frankly, they're seeing there's a lot of gaps as well. They're seeing there's a lot of places where they want to be more competitive as a state level too. And they see that product development is what they need to do to be able to attract companies. Because we know that we have a strong workforce and we have a great community college system that helps train. So it really goes down to, do we have the product to be able to help folks become operational a lot quicker? But your concerns are very valid, and we hear you, and you have actually been helping us address this.
I appreciate you and appreciate the work that you have done since you've been here. Years ago, they said we need a ready-made workforce. Central Carolina over there is training people every day for jobs. So you just keep moving on, and because I feel like you're moving in the right direction. We've been stagnant for years. Something's got to change here in Harnett County. And I'm just telling you the truth. Truth is the truth. We sit up here, and we don't see what's going on. But now, I have seen it for years. I was born and raised here. It's a shame that we don't have no more jobs in this county for our citizens. 62%, it used to be 68%. So you're moving in the right direction. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Any other?
Anything else from Mr. Baker?
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Honeycutt, financial quarterly.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Each quarter I bring to you a financial snapshot of the county, how we're doing for the quarter compared to the prior years. But unlike the previous 3 quarters, this quarter I will focus basically on just a few highlights. We, as you know, are wrapping up our fiscal year. Our fiscal year ended June 30th, and we actually hold those books open for a period of 4 weeks to 6 weeks to finalize getting in all of our revenues, making sure there are no outstanding invoices, and to prepare for our final audit. So I usually try to steer away from giving any specific numbers because those numbers literally will change every hour as we are making our entries to close our books. So a couple of things that I did want to point out to you is that right now, I'm looking at our expenditures so far for the year have totaled $155 million. That includes our final 2 weeks of payroll. As you know, our payroll period, we pay at the end of the month, and that's for 2 weeks in the current month, 2 weeks in the prior month. So we had to hold our books open just a little bit longer to get the last 2 weeks of June in. So we're straightening that up. Revenues right now are running about $151 million, which puts us about $3 million expenditures over revenues, or revenues under expenditures. We still have two months of sales tax to come in. That sales tax is coming in right around 2.8, 2.3, and that's net to the county because we have to distribute that to the fire districts and as well as to the school systems. So that's kind of where we are there. And also, I will tell you that the property tax, as Christine and Amy had alluded, we have actually collected more than we did last year, but that's due to the value going up. So right now, we're looking at about $73 million in collections compared to $70 million, and I'm approximating last year, and that's for all the categories. DMV is $9.4 million compared to $9 million last year. So we are collecting more, but we also have more levy. But we also are incurring more expenses, and I think as y'all have seen over the last several months, as the county continues to expand, our budget included increases for personnel to meet the labor market shortages for our public safety, as well as increases to the school system. So we're kind of holding our own, but right now I would prefer to just kind of give you a very high-level overview. And then when we come back, maybe in the next 4 weeks, give you a little bit better presentation. But we will have a final wrap-up. Our auditors should be on board sometime around end of August, September, but our report will not be complete until probably around October, November. Any questions? And I will just remind you that our unassigned fund balance last year for the fiscal year ended 23 was right around 28%, so I anticipate it's going to fall out right about the same place. Any questions?
Ms. Honeycutt? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Chairman. The first item I have underneath my report is that I have a resolution from the DOT to add Folly Court and the Sweetwater subdivision to the state secondary road system. So if there's no objections, we'll add that to the consent agenda.
Recommend approval.
Okay.
Okay, the next is we have 3 different projects that have been presented for amendments for contracts for fiscal year 25. The first one being for utility service company for water tank maintenance. The second one from the Huffsteller Group, which is our filter services and repairs. Third one is a booster pump and sewer lift station repairs. Those contracts, if there's no objections, we'll add those to the consent for approval.
Any approval? Okay. Consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
The last item that I have is our NCACC annual conference is coming up next week. And myself, Deputy Manager Coley Price, will be attending, and I believe Commissioner McCoy has stated she'll be attending. One of the items that comes up is NCACC asked us to submit who will be our voting delegate. So looking at that happens at their business meeting on the Saturday of the conference. And so just wanting to know who the board need to go ahead and appoint. Ms. McCoy is going to be there that Saturday afternoon. Usually they prefer to have the elected officials do that role, but also you can appoint myself as being able to be the voting delegate for the county if that's desired as well.
And what's the pleasure of the board?
I think Barbara's gonna be there. Let her be the
Let
voting
him be,
delegate.
let him be there.
Doesn't matter to me.
You saying you don't want to be?
No,
Yep.
Recommend the
I'm
county.
not quite sure I'm going.
Recommend the county manager be the delegate.
Okay? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda, Madam Clerk. All right, Mr. Counselor, is there a need for a closed session?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move the board go into closed session for the following purpose. To consult with the county's legal counsel in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain claims and litigation, including the following case. Longman versus John Doe and Jane Doe et al. Harnett County District Court, file number 24 CV 1993-420. I make this motion pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A3.
Second. Motion has been made, properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk. Come back to order, please. This time, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made, properly seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.